mercy. So I'm gonna wing it. So if there's any problems with how I do up here, I'm used to it. It's all good. So if y'all don't mind, we'll go ahead. I'll kind of explain a little bit of the ground rules. We'll do the pledges, and then we'll let y'all kind of get going. So how many candidates do I have? Raise your hand if you're a candidate for office. I want to see how many I got. Yay. I was hoping someone would show up. That'd be kind of awkward like a town hall and not have any candidates. That's a good thing. So what we'll do is basically what will happen is once we get rolling, whoever wants to go first can come up here. We'll hand you a mic. We'll pass the mic after the audience. Now, the audience, I would greatly appreciate y'all being very civil in your questions. I can tell you right now, running for office is not a fun thing. It is a service, though, that people do for our community. So we should be very generous, be very kind in your questions, stuff like that. You can ask hard questions, but don't be rude about it, okay? Appreciate that. Having been in that position, I know how that gets to be, so please, just be generous with it. So we'll go ahead and we'll get started with prayer, so if you don't mind bowing your head. Heavenly Father, I come today, Lord. I give you thanks. I give you thanks for the opportunity to come together, to fellowship, to be able to hear these candidates. Lord, I thank you for these candidates, for them being in a servant role, of being able to serve their communities and put their heart and your faith where it belongs, Lord. I greatly thank them. I know from personal experience the attacks that they can feel. And Lord, I just ask for angels to protect them and keep them safe. Lord, I ask that our meeting not be civil and cordial. I ask all these things in your heavenly name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, we'll go ahead and if y'all mind, stand for the pledges. We'll do the offensive flag first. I told you I was going to mess this thing up. I'm not sure you're not going to mess it up. Right? We'll start with the prayer first. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we'll do the text flag.
Honor the text flag. I pledge allegiance to the text, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. So I told you I was going to mess it up. Appreciate y'all getting my back on that stuff. All right, which candidate would like to start first? I don't run all up here at one time.
School city council.
No, I'm not ready. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be special. Basically what you'll do is come on up, kind of tell a little about yourself, tell what office you're going to run for, and kind of give us your little elevator speech, if you will, and kind of let us know who you are and what you'd like to do.
Ask them to raise their hands again and fucking pick one.
All right. Well, if they all come up, I'm actually raise your hands again. I'm going to pick somebody. Here we go.
I think nobody else is going to start it off.
Man, I don't do this. I'm too loud as it is. Some of you probably remember. All right. It's not funny. Sorry, shooting you all. All right. I should have worn my readers. That's how old I am now. A primary object should be the education of our youth in the science of government. In a republic, what species of knowledge can be equally important? And what duty more pressing than communicating it to those who are to be the future guardians of the liberty of the country? I want to thank each of you for being here today. My name is Nova Olson. I'm running for a godly board trustee in place 1. And I've been married to my sweetheart right there for nearly 34 years. I'm a mom of 5, and Anna to 7, gonna be 8 soon. I'm a nurse, and my husband and I are crazy enough to also foster dogs. So that's really needed out there. Probably your neck of the woods too. So, I believe children need strong, reliable leadership and education. Naturally, the first and most important leaders are parents. I found a couple years ago a statement by a mom that I really identify with, and that's, I do not co-parent with the government. Parents are equipped best to make decisions in every area of their child's life, including education. Where educators and administrators once valued and respected parents' voice, they have over time methodically implemented curriculum and policies that insidiously replace parental roles. The educator and school administrator role should be to facilitate core education in reading, writing, math, science, and history. Our schools should make every effort to be transparent. Transparency in curriculum content, detailed spending, salaries, as well as concise student performance data. Information should not be hard to find, and it should be easily understood by parents and taxpayers. The school should welcome participation by the community, especially taxpayers. Parents in the community should be made to feel at home and invited to the table. And members of the community should not fear retaliation simply because what is said is controversial or not in agreement with the district. And school administration and or board members should never use ISD police to silence those they disagree with. And along with transparency comes fiscal responsibility. If you're spending our money, spend it wisely. My family must make wise financial decisions and stay within our budget. Same applies to school districts. Bells and whistles, fancy structures, and expensive technology are absolutely not necessary to provide an excellent education. So, in closing, I thought this was really, really good. The power under the Constitution will always be in the people. It is entrusted for certain defined purposes and for a certain limited period to representatives of their own choosing. And whenever it is executed contrary to their interests or not agreeable to their wishes, their servants can and undoubtedly will be recalled. That was by George Washington.
All right, we're going to open up the floor. Anybody have questions? I'll bring the mic over. We'll start here at the back, and then if you don't mind, just pass the mic up. And then, so I'll hand up here, we'll get right back to you.
Hi, I live in Joshua, I'm not an school district, but what are the top 1, 2, or 3 things you see that need to be changed where you're running roles?
Well, the 2 things that sort of got me involved is this lack of transparency in our district, and that has to do with curriculum, it has to do with financial transparency, and so and I think that sort of goes hand in hand with the fact that there are members, including myself, who have been essentially targeted for speaking out. And that's why I brought my little pocket constitution and said those things, because we have to, and I said on Facebook one day, and I said, we have to, all of this right here, local politics, our city councils, our school, our board trustees, we have to, at the ground here, protect our republic. And I think members of our public are so, they think they want all the bells and whistles and all the things, and some of us are really fighting for this republic and those type of things. So we need to protect the right of people for free speech, to be able to redress their grievances, to ask their government for remedy, to come and say, and that's, if we come together and we vote out those people who aren't representing us, representative government is where we started. So protecting representative government, our republic, is one thing that we need to enforce at the school board and the city council level. The other thing is just out of control spending. I can't get behind that. And I'll say it over and over again, and people who, are kind of on these 2 sides, they don't hear it. I'm not saying that kids don't need facilities. I'm saying that we don't need facilities that are so outrageously expensive that we have gone to facilities instead of education as sort of this becomes an idol, this keeping up with the Joneses. It's your fault. That's what, I'm not from Texas originally. I know that surprised all of you. I'm from Iowa, and my husband and I grew up in Cedar Rapids, which is the second largest city in the entire state. And it's not a metroplex. It's about 120-ish thousand. We had 3 big public high schools, plus some other, surrounding. But our junior highs, that tells you how old I am, junior high. And our high schools, for our major sporting events, we all shared one stadium. We made it work for an entire state. So when I first came here and drove around these high schools, I'm like, so, schools have mismanaged money in the name of sports, in the name, and I'll even say that, CTE, all those things. And I'm not saying those things aren't good. I'm not saying that those things aren't valuable to a degree, but we've got to start putting education, core education, to the forefront.
You bring up transparency. In the last year, Godly ISD has done 2 local policy changes. Local policy FE, or BE, and local policy BED. Local policy BED, it prevents individuals from speaking on an agenda item or prevents people from speaking in open meetings, which is completely against the Constitution, and restricts it to agenda items, and they've issued numerous trespass warning letters because of that. BE prevents a single member of our representative government, the school board trustee, from adding an item on the agenda to be discussed, and requires 3. If elected, what will you do about BED local and BE local policy? Thank you.
But definitely aware of those policies, and as I got involved, some of you know I ran last year for school board in Godly. I was not elected, and that was one of the things that myself and Kayla Lane, we constantly were trying to champion the right that we have in this country for free speech. That you should, that our government, our Constitution provides for on a school board night to open up and to actually represent their community.
I remember you from last year, and with that being said, what do you know about TASB? And what would you do, or what can you do in order to try to get TASB out?
As in getting rid of them as the organization that the school utilizes for their policies and...
Well, I guess TASB is the puppet master, and the school board is are the puppets.
Right. So I think if I just want to make sure that I'm understanding what you're saying. Like in terms of like Carroll ISD, they decided to not continue. I would support not using an organization who is not friendly to parents, who is not friendly to our community, who have decided to push policies and curriculums that maybe have SEL. Social emotional learning, who have policies that include, transgender, allowing those type of policies. I don't think an organization like that is representative of what is good for kids. So I would definitely support moving away from an organization that's going to continue to push those policies and those types of curriculum.
All right, if you don't mind going with your name again and what position you're running for.
Nova Olson. I'm running for Godly Board, School Board Trustee, Place 1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, the next candidate, come on up. And if you don't mind, just a quick like elevator speech. That way we can do all the candidates. I know we've had a few more show up. So the next one.
Good evening. First and foremost, I'd like to say, I'd like to thank the Lord for having us all here tonight and for bringing us all here safely and for taking us home safely as well, and for this opportunity to be in front of you. My name is James Stewart. Some of you might remember me from last year. Last year I was running for city council there in Cleveland. Well, this year we're going to go up a level. We're going to go from there. I had this dream over 2 years ago to run for mayor, and when I started talking to my wife and started talking to fellow pastors about this dream, God came up with the same response. God gives dreams of the future. And one pastor told me Joseph was the dreamer of the Bible because he told them what was going to happen. And so, as a candidate, in this past year, I have listened to a lot of people, from the south side of Cleveland to the north side, east, and west side. I even gone into the water department to see the truth of how the system is. I will tell you this, the system is bad. Very bad. You got new developments that are going in with 4-inch water lines. We got water lines that are 2 inches in diameter in the majority of the city. And some of those lines were laid back in the 1940s. Now, I don't know how many of you gentlemen work with plumbing, but if you're using galvanized steel, what is it going to look like? A 2-inch diameter looking like within 60 years, 80 years. And so with that being said, we got some serious issues. Let's take, for example, this right here is the city of Cleveland. Just as the city of Cleveland sits right here. From a person that I talked to in the fire department, we're already down 2 stations, just as it sits. But now we got all these new subdivisions coming in, being built, just like the zits on a young man's face when he's in middle school, just popping up. So if we're down 2 right now, and all these zits subdivisions are popping up, you're looking at anywhere from 2 to 3 more stations that are going to be needed in the future. And right now we're down 4 police officers. 4. Just if you were just having Cleveland like this. But once again, with all these new developments coming in, these new housing that are being approved almost on a monthly basis like this. I spent all last year, I spent a good portion of this year listening to previous council meetings from last year and in 2022. We got some serious issues. They're very serious issues. So with our police department and all these developments going on, and if we're already down 4, you can imagine we're going to need probably another 8 more officers minimum, looking at 12 in total. We are in some serious problems right now. I listen to individuals always complaining about the streets. Always complaining about the streets. One young man told me, and I consider to be a young man, is anybody that's older than me, like this young man here. When he told me, he made a joke with me that, have I ever wondered what life would be like living on the moon? And I told him, I'm trying to think of something logical to come up with, and I said, sir, no. He goes, just go drive in the neighborhoods of Cleveland, and you're getting a good idea. I had people come to me, tell me, how they will get water out of their faucets yellow. But yet, at the spigot there at the water department, it comes out nice and clean. And so their excuse to me, or their reasoning for this is, well, it has to travel through all the lines, there's like miles of lines that it has to travel through, and this, and that. No. When you got too much water lines that were being laid in the 1940s, 50s, that are still in the ground and are breaking like this, it doesn't matter if it's in wintertime. They're breaking in summertime as well. We got problems. And so, I look at the Bible as not so much as a problem maker, but a way to solve problems, a way to come up with solutions. And so, with that being said, we got solutions. It's just we need to get to work. My go-to song in some of the campaign videos I'm going to be releasing here next month.
Let's go ahead and, I don't mean to rush you along, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and get to the questions if you don't mind.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I said no, but I got a pastor up there talking. I got to put them all together. Do we have some questions from the audience?
How much water is leaking in the water lines?
Huh?
Well, how much? You went to the water district. How much water is leaking? That's okay. How much water is leaking out of the water lines? They should know that.
I don't know the exact number of gallons that are leaking out, but what I do know is this. The lake is not sufficient. The lake is not sufficient. It's got to the point where we're buying water from another county, from another location. And so that automatically, right there, with that expense, property taxes are going to go up just on that alone. What I do know is the pumps that they have right now were to go out. Their backup pumps, the youngest was installed in 1970. And the two before that were installed, same style, they were installed back in the 1950s. And so, if one of those pumps go down, well, according to the administration there at the water department, they can fix it really fast. But from previous employees that used to work in the water department, one pump can be down for repair from anywhere from 4 to 5 months. So that leaves 2 backups that could go at any time. So this is an issue. Water leakage, I'll be honest with you, I really don't know. But I do know that this is something that needs to be addressed as well. And I'll be honest with you.
I no more
But
questions.
then I never thought about that, asking that either.
It's probably about a third of the water being dished out is going to leak, at least. So just let you know. So fix the pipes first.
I understand that this is on the same topic, a basic question of kind of, but it sounds like you have two major issues in Cleveland. You have a distribution problem with old lines and undersized lines, but you also have a supply issue. Are you going to stay dependent on other water sources, or do you have any solutions to repair and supply your own water by maybe draining it down and dredging it out so that they can be dependent on their own water source?
No solution. The more solutions we have on the table to figure out how to solve this problem, the better.
I just want to mention one thing. As a teenager, I swam across that lake, and in the middle of the lake, I could stand up and chest high water. I think it has some volume issues.
I heard that in the past. Right now, when it comes right down to it, all solutions are on the table. The one that I found very troubling right now is that they're getting water from the Quilai, taking Quilai. Now that, if I'm not mistaken, that lake is smaller than our lake, if I'm not mistaken. The thoughts that come to mind is, why not talk to people at Lake Whitney or Lake Granbury? I can see, might be some competition on high schools and blah, 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 but you know what? When it comes right down to it, we need to have solutions on the table of a route we can go. If not a plan A, have definitely a plan B and possibly a plan C in place in case something does go wrong.
Thank you. Any other questions? If you don't mind, go ahead and state your name and position you run for.
Once again,
What about the firefighters?
Firefighters, well, right now, from the time our firefighter is hired on until the time he gets into office or stationed at a fire station or a place of work, takes him 3 years. 3 years. And during that time frame, these recruits that come in, they can be easily picked up by another city and paid a lot more money. 3 years. And just think about it. We're down already, just right now, just Cleveland as it is, with no added divisions or subdivisions or communities, or housing communities. We're already down to 2 fire stations. And that number is coming directly from somebody that works in the Cleveland Fire Department.
Well, thank you. If you don't mind, go ahead and state your
Once
name.
again, I'm James Stewart. I'm running for mayor of Cleveland, and I'm here to serve.
Appreciate it. The next candidate will come on up.
Can I have the next?
You can. And again, if I don't mind, I'll ask you all again, please just kind of keep your opening short. Let's get to the questions. We do have a lot of candidates, and I don't think we want to stay here all night, so I appreciate it.
Hey y'all, I'm Georgia Head. I might be too loud. Do I need this? I am running for Joshua ISD School Board, Place 4. I'm a career-long high school teacher. I've been in the classroom for 28 years, and I'm married to Ben. We've been married for 38 years, and I'm about to be a grandma for the very first time in June, so I'm excited. I have 2 boys. I grew up here in Joshua, raised our boys in Shreveport, Louisiana, and then moved back to the land where I grew up on about 4 years ago, so I'm back here in town. I'm running, there's 5 things that I've noticed just working with the school district recently that I've seen as problems that I would like to get in there and try to solve. First of all, the board members have all been in their spots for a really long time, and not that that's always a bad thing, but I think it's time for a change. And these are in no particular order. The first thing that I see that is a problem is teacher retention and satisfaction. I've talked to a lot of teachers that are there in the district. A lot of them are afraid to speak out for fear of any kind of retaliation that might be held against them for speaking out. But the state average, the teacher turnover rate in Joshua ISD is higher than the state average. So teachers are leaving Joshua ISD faster than they're leaving most other places in the state. And then I just recently, I go to all the board meetings and the board workshops. They're just in the past 3 months, well, it's like November, December, January, 3 teachers had sanctions put on their teaching certificates for leaving in the middle of the year. And I talked to one of the professionals from one of the teachers' organizations, and I said, how common is that to happen in Texas? And he said, it's not common at all. It's very retaliatory for a teacher to break their contract and then have sanctions filed on their licenses. Most school districts just wish them well and let them go. So Joshua is filing sanctions against teachers who leave in the middle of the year. So I would like to, and those were all unanimous votes by the board, which is another problem I would like to try to solve. We looked through meeting minutes for the past probably 8 to 10 years. The board votes in lockstep for every single vote. It's always 7-0, always. There's never a dissenting vote. I've been going to workshops. They never discuss anything. It's whatever the superintendent tells them. They just raise their hand and vote. Okay, so that's the other thing. I've talked to a lot of special ed parents and parents of children that have 504 accommodations, and those are just children that need a little bit. They don't qualify for special ed necessarily, but they just need some classroom accommodations. They are not getting the resources and the help that they need. And y'all need to understand that school districts in Texas get extra money from the federal government and the state to accommodate these special ed children and children that are on 504 plans. And it makes me wonder, because these parents are being told by the schools, we just don't have the resources to give your child what they need. So if they don't have the resources, what are they doing with the money? Okay, that's my question there. I want to really look into the fiscal responsibility. I've gone through a lot of their check registers, which are public record, and seeing where our tax dollars are going. The last bond that they passed was in 2015, and if you look at the bond expenditures, many of the items that they spent money on for that bond are long in the landfill. I mean, they were consumable items. They were not items that should have been financed for a 30-year period. And some of the bonds will say, well, our bond was paid off earlier than 30 years. Well, okay, you should have financed it for 10 years. You know, it was something that was consumable. It didn't need to be financed in a bond. So I think we could rein in some of that spending, cut some corners. They were the last bond that failed, and we have another one on the ballot. Y'all need, if you're in Joshua ISD, please go vote way forward. There's the third one on the ballot, third in a row. The last 2 failed, and the last one they said that, oh, we need new roofs. All of our roofs are leaking. The children are getting wet. Okay, well, why didn't we fix the roof before we replaced the turf on the baseball field? Or before we bought that multi-million-dollar scoreboard? You know, what's more important here? So I think there's some priorities that are off. So that's what I want to do. And then the last thing is just advocate. We have a really bad bullying problem with our children. And I know that that's going around all over the state, but a lot of the no tolerance policies aren't good, because a child that fights back or stands up for himself gets the same punishment as the bully, and then it just continues. And the board always just votes in lockstep for any grievance against ignorance and things like that. So that's a little bit about me and why I want to run.
Thank you. Next question.
About JISD being a district of innovation, and they are adding more amendments. Explain to people what this is.
Okay, a district of innovation, it sounds like, oh, well, we're a district of innovation, you know, and that's like, yay, this is this good thing. Y'all, it's not a really good thing, okay? Now, the TEC, or Texas Education Code, the TEA, has provided this program where local school districts can file waivers and amend. They basically get to go through Texas Education Code and say, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do that, well, we don't like how that is. It gives, I can see both sides of the argument, it gives them some local control, but then again, they're doing things that, like maybe opt in, instead of opting out of the sex education, they have to opt in. I mean, they can just kind of twist things. They passed 4 amendments last night to the District of Innovation Plan. It's called a DOI. That's the acronym for it. I don't think I jotted those guys. I hope I can remember them all. Texas Education Code says you cannot suspend a student between kindergarten and third grade. Joshua filed a waiver. They're going to start suspending kids kindergarten through third grade. Makes me wonder, is the discipline that bad? I don't know. I'm a high school teacher. I'm not in kindergarten, third grade, but that seems a little bit concerning. The second one, they're going to a 4-day week. They've adopted a hybrid schedule, so they're going to be taking Mondays off. They voted to have Mondays off. So that has to be a DOI waiver because Texas Education Code says you have to go 5 days. So they applied for the waiver. They're going to go 4 days. The other part of that waiver is teachers get 200 and some odd minutes every 2 weeks of planning time. I can't remember the exact, it's like 254 minutes per 2 weeks for planning time. They applied for a waiver to be able to use part of that time to have PLC meetings, which are professional learning communities, and collaborative training meetings, which I don't know about y'all, but any teacher knows, if you're a teacher in this room, when you're asked to give up your planning time to come sit down and have a collaborative meeting with your peers, and they're taking away some of your time that you would be grading and doing your lessons, that's not always the best thing. So I'm thinking, they wanted to do the 4-day week because they want to attract more teachers and better teachers. My thinking is, if they're not filing sanctions against teaching certificates and the teachers don't feel threatened, they might, they're going to be in a more conducive environment, in a more non-toxic environment. So I think there was one other waiver that they applied for, but I can't remember what it was off the top of their head. Oh, they applied, right now they have a waiver that they can hire a CTE teacher, career and technical education. That person does not have to be certified in the state of Texas. And they have a DOI waiver that they can hire a non-certified person. He has to have a college degree. They want to expand that and hire more teachers that are not certified. Yes, thank you. Yes.
Are those waivers pending or approved, or what's the process to get it finished?
They send the waivers in. They don't even have to be approved as long as they fall under the DOI plan, because there's certain things they can't change, but there's most of them they can. I was told today that people could write a letter and ask the Commissioner of Education to not approve that. I've never done that before, so I'm not sure how that would work.
The public school system grievance policy stacks the deck against parents, staff, and the community members by allowing the district administration and the school board to both utilize the same law firm and legal team, and it stacks the deck against parents or community members and staff in the sense that if the school board rules against the administration, they're effectively ruling against their paid-for legal teams. What would you do as a trustee to change that and create a more impartial environment for complaints, since that is the main avenue for complaints to be brought to the school districts?
Okay, that's a great question. I have a whole problem with the whole legal team to begin with, because in our district, and I think several others in the county, the school district, the superintendent is being literally run by a legal office. Okay, our Joshua and Godwin use Lisa and Crafts, and I have pulled through public information requests their billings, and they cannot make a phone call without calling Lisa and Crafts. So tax dollars are paying for them to basically do their job that they're getting over $200,000 a year to supposedly be doing. As far as what Greg was saying about the grievances, that's right. The lawyers represent the board and the administration, so yeah, the deck's totally stacked. I would advocate for, and I know I would just be one, if I was elected, I would just be one voice on the board, but I would certainly advocate for separate attorneys. They don't need to be represented by the same law firm. And then that's basically when a mom or a parent or a family goes up there to file a grievance. The grievance is the process to file a complaint against the school. And always the first step is to go to the teacher or the principal or the school and try to get it resolved. If you can't get it resolved, there's a formal way, it's called a grievance. And of course they pull out the attorneys right off the bat. Most parents can't afford to take an attorney up there. And so basically you're paying your tax dollars, paying that lawyer to work against the parents. So it's a problem.
As a teacher, they're at JISD.
it comes to discipline issues, a lot of the kids, I don't want to say get away with murder, but nothing happens. Nothing happens at all. And so, as a teacher, will your door be open so that, well, I'll be honest with you, I'm not going back because of the things I've seen. So this is my last year teaching. For those that are coming behind me, will your door be open?
Yes, absolutely. And I've been there. I've been in those shoes. I've been in the classroom. And the thing is, Joshua ISD does have a very clear code of conduct and a set of rules. And we have noticed, because I have worked with several families as their advocate on some of these grievances, and I've noticed that the code of conduct and the rules that apply to discipline are not being followed. So I think they should be followed.
Any other questions?
One last one. Thank you. So in all these, since you've been going to board meetings, how much has the tax revenue increased in the last 3 years? Do you know? I'd say at least by 2x. Because people's appraisal's gone up by 2x.
Yeah, the appraisals, I don't know that off the top of my head. I know they have voted to raise it. They did vote, and it's all semantics. They'll come back, like when we start fighting these bonds, they'll say, well, we lowered your tax rate. Okay, well, they might vote to lower it a penny or half a cent or whatever, but then the appraisals come in and the appraisals are double. So, and I was trying to drive that point home two bonds ago, I think it was, that your voting entities, your government entities are the people that are putting the CAD, of course that's all changed now, the Central Appraisal District people on the board, and then, the taxes have gone up. My tax bill has gone up, I'll tell you that. I don't know about the rate, I couldn't tell you that.
I think the current rate, well, it was 54% of your property tax dollar went to the school district. And now it's over 60%, it's like probably close to 64% now.
And houses have doubled in 3 years.
And the roads don't get fixed, because all of our maintenance money is going to the school. They've soaked it all up, and eventually the school's just gonna run the whole town. They're wanting roads and parking lots fixed at the school, but our suspensions get knocked out of our car in the rest of the town.
Does anybody else have questions for George?
Okay, thank y'all. Jordan Bennett, High School Board, Mr.
And you're going to come up next. And again, just kind of keep your opening a little short and turn it over to the floor. That way we can get there right. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Charles Payne. I lived in Joshua, well, I'm fifth generation here in this town, but I grew up in Arlington. I've been here about 15 years on my grandparents' farm. I took the family farm over. I did historic restoration in Philadelphia for 25 years. Ran my own business. Was a tradesman, but I ran the company and had employees and had to be responsible with finances for my family and for my business. And I've seen the school has a sense of entitlement to the cash that we have. And they don't work for it. They spend it like they buy there once, and then they come at us with a bond and say we need stuff. And I can't appreciate that, because I can't do that in my household. On my farm, if I come out and decide that I'm going to buy irrigation and then I can't afford seeds, I probably should have bought seeds first and made some money and built up to where I can afford to buy some irrigation. And I know that I've been farming now for 9 years. I've kind of retired from contracting. But, what I see is, from a farming perspective, they want to take a weed field and turn it into a crop the next year. And it's not going to happen. They've already spent with an $8 million deficit. And I don't think anybody in here is allowed to have a deficit at the end of the year. We have things repoed. Our house, a car, a boat. If you choose to have too many toys, you have to give up something because you can't have it if you can't afford it. And the school just thinks that they're entitled to keep going back to daddy's wallet and dipping in it. And they got a credit card and they don't understand there's an end to it. And the only end to it is that all of us being broke and we can't afford a house and nobody's going to buy our houses because nobody in their right mind is going to move somewhere that the mortgage is less than the tax. It's just, it's poor money management. And I'm running with Georgia right ahead, and she's got a lot of knowledge on the teacher side of things. I've had 8 kids, and we fought the bond this last time, and we beat it for the second time now. They told us that because we're fighting the bond, we hate teachers, we hate children. She is a teacher. I have 8 kids. If anybody deserves to hate children, it would be me. All 8 kids of mine who attended Joshua, Independent School District. And I appreciate the schooling that they get there. But I think that they've spanned out beyond what they can control. And they're taking more than they can, they're bit off more than they can chew. It's time to rein them in. And it's just, we're going to look like the bad guys. There's only 2 of us running. There's only 2 seats available right now. We're not going to have much of a say. We're going to try to influence the other board members. But basically, we're the foot in the door. Next year, there's 3 more seats open. If we can get some more concerned citizens to help step in, we can take it over and cut this crap spending out. And it's going to hurt. We're going to look like the devil because whoever says no more money, looks like the bad guy. But it's time somebody's going to pay the piper. We're not just going to keep dumping money to the entire. And we don't need kids. I got ripped on because I went to South Lake. I grew up in Arlington, moved to South Lake, and they're like, oh, he's a rich kid. Well, it was a 2A school, and we won state championships in football. My weight room was a mobile home, okay? I think you lift too much weight, you can go through the floor. But I did not get raised with a silver spoon in my mouth. I was raised to be responsible, and I spend what I earn the way I want to. And if I spend it stupid, I get in trouble. And it's basically what I'm after on that end, is just to make my school district be responsible and spend responsibly. And if we have to cut, we're going to cut.
How you doing, sir? Thanks for throwing your hat in. Career technical education is a really hot topic in schools. It's pushed heavily, and the reality of it is a school district receives 10% more funding for a non-state approved CTE program, 28% more funding for a level 1 or 2, and 48% more funding for a level 3-4. You're starting to see a lot of CTE programs like flower bouquet making, entrepreneurship, which they work in the spirit store. You're starting to see a lot of stuff like that. Texas Ed Code 4.002 clearly states exemplary performance in reading and writing English, exemplary performance in science, exemplary performance in math, exemplary performance in social studies. Are you worried, and are you, if elected, would you lean on making sure CTE wasn't being abused, CTE wasn't, children weren't being led into CTE because it's a financial windfall, and that's awesome, about Joshua's deficit budget. There's $6 million in deficit that they're budgeting. But would you focus more on core education and make sure CTE wasn't being abused?
I certainly would, because I myself, I went to a private Baptist school until 11th grade, and then I went to public school when we moved to Arlington. And core, we didn't have shop in a private school, a lot of things like that. I did really well in math, and I made straight A's in geometry, and that cursed me to become a carpenter. But the thing is, they're trying to say that they're going to send kids out as certified welders out But I asked my son who's in ag class, because they won't spend crazy money on these kind of offices. And I asked him what his current project was in ag. And he's taking carpentry and they're building Jenga towers. Okay? Now, when I run my company, if I have some young man from Joshua School District come up to me and he wants a job as a carpenter, and ask him his credentials, and he's got some kind of a certificate from Joshua School, and I find out that he was building Jenga towers, I have no use for that. And it's that sad. They're also spent millions of dollars for the ag program, and they're supplying housing, I guess feed, transportation for people's animals, and the children that have these animals live in an HOA. I mean, I live on 25 acres, and the people I know in the past that were in ag had their animal on their property, they fed their animal, they polished their animal. I'm a farmer, not a rancher, so okay, I'm going to use some wrong terms. But, you know, they groomed their animal and took care of themselves. They had their own trailer to transport it, and Daddy had a truck to pull it to the shows. And now, just about last year, $70,000 dually truck for the school to pull an ag trailer with. And they already have 15 trucks in the maintenance division, and a dump truck and a backhoe. And they sit there. The dump truck and the backhoe, they said they need that for repairs around there. And other people have mentioned, well, if you need it, you can borrow it from the county maintenance. Why do you need to own one for yourself in the school district? That's out of hand.
Another question over here.
I sat in some department meetings where I'm a teacher out there in Joshua, and one of the individuals is on one of these committees that approve with their opinion to give to the school board. So somehow, some way, this teacher basically is working with the school board. One of the things that she talked about was next year the over-influx of students and how everybody was appalled of the possibility of bringing out classroom trailers like you might see out in big districts north of us on 35 and 930 using on a regular basis. What would you propose in regards to this so-called influx of students to where teachers who have kids in the district were told to put your child on a sign-up list, or they're going to end up on a waiting list?
First of all, there's no doctor. I've seen schools that show their overcapacity. In the elementary, for instance, there's like 6 elementaries, and you'll see the graph. 3 of them are above capacity, it's tapering down, 1 is barely even above, and the other 3 are just below, staggering down lower. And it's like shift the students around. You've got an average. You don't need to build a whole school if you just take some kids and redistrict a little bit in that area. They redistricted my daughter this year. She's 10 years old 2 years ago, and they moved her from one elementary school to another. All my kids went to the other school. It doesn't matter. They're both getting good teaching, and it's fine. But the other thing about that is, I served in the Army, in the infantry, and pretty much anywhere in America, since we were government employees essentially, we had the same kind of barracks, the same benefits, we had the same weapons, and same treatment. We were all schooled at the same place. But when you talk about schools, South Lake has an indoor Olympic-sized swimming pool. It's a public school. We've got a $10 million stadium. I think that's about right on the number in Joshua. With 2 elevators and a brick structure. Why? Schools, I think, should be uniform across the United States. Size-wise, there can be different sizes, but they should all be treated the same by our government because it's a government entity. The school is a government entity. And when you have South End kids getting better treatment because it's a wealthy area and there's more tax dollars, cut their tax dollars, let the people keep their money. They can reinvest by hiring me to work on their property. They can, and you know, I don't care if they're rich and they get to keep money. We're going to keep our money in our districts as well. And everybody should have the same opportunity. Kids in a poor community out in the boondocks of the country should have the same quality education as a kid in a wealthy neighborhood. You know, and that's my take on it. If we need a mobile home for, I went to private school and I was trained in mobile homes. I don't have a problem with putting students in a mobile home. If that's what we need to do budget-wise, because I'm not going to build you a glass tower.
Any other questions? All right, if you don't mind, let us know. Let's go. You are.
I'm Charles Dean. I'm running for place 3 in Joshua Independent School District for the school board.
Who would like to come on next? All right, come on up. You'll be sorry. Are you saying that's your problem, Dylan? Are you saying that's your problem, Dylan?
Oh, I think you'll be sorry you invited me up here.
Well, that's what I mean.
Come on up and introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Donnie McCoy. I live over in Godley, Texas. Moved there 2 years ago. I'm a retired United States Air Force training manager. I've got about 40 years in the training industry. I've designed, developed, and implemented training programs for a vast array of different technical issues. I got interested in the Godley School District because of the $800 million bond they tried to slough off on us last year. $800 million. Yeah, they didn't tell us about this.
That's $1 billion.
You know, they built a football stadium. Now it's all encapsulated with buildings except for the north end. That's the only place you can see the sky. Because they're going to bring in state championship football at Godley, Texas. Yes, let's go. The nearest hotel is like 35 miles away. But they sold that. I was against that, and then I thought, well, I have 2 spare bedrooms in my house. I can rent them out and make a few bucks. And the school district just tax me more. So I can't win. Schools are the source of our freedom. Schools are where we get our citizens from who make the decisions that keep us free. And how can we expect that from a school system that, in my humble estimation, is tyrannical in nature? It doesn't equate. And I've been asked to be fast, so I'm going to be as fast as I can, but it's, in my professional career, I have stood on that wall, I've ridden that dragon, I've been the gunslinger. And this is what I bring to the Godley ISD School Board. I will not back down. That's not in my nature. I will stand there and I will tell them, no, you don't need that bond. They want 20 new school buses with this new bond they're going to come after. Three bonds ago, we bought school buses. What's the lifespan of a school bus? 3 years, 4 years? Where's that gentleman who was up here before? What he talked about was standardization, something that I truly, truly believe in. I've seen it in private industry, I've seen it in the military. You use a standardized lesson plan with a standardized teaching objective, with standardized guns and barracks and all this other standardized stuff. You can take a group of people off the street and in 10 days have a fighting force. Have people who can repair aircraft, drive boats, cook a lot of food. It's standardization that is what is, I think, required and needed. You want to make sure that student A on Monday in Dr. Jekyll's class gets the identical same instruction as student B on Tuesday in Dr. Hyde's class. That's where you get your standardization. And Texas is trying to go there. They have a small problem. I was talking to Greg about this. He mentioned the fact that all these school districts have different books. Well, you can't standardize and stay on different books. Every classroom should have the same math book, history book, whatever it is. And then last night, at school board meeting, they stood there so proud that they can talk about how well our children feel, how they can socialize. They didn't say, oh, they can multiply, they can divide. No, they didn't say that. We've gone astray. We've gone astray because we've lost focus on our mission. Our mission is to educate children, not socialize them.
Amen.
That's all right. You ready to open for some questions?
Yeah, let's go. It's getting dark. I can't
Back here, back, let me pass it over.
I live in Joshua. A few years ago, we had a bond problem too. The taxpaying public gets steamrolled by the construction companies, as I understand it. Come to the school board and sell a package, which includes marketing, rolling polling, where they have emergency meetings with the parents, and they get a vote for the children.
For the children.
How in the hell do we stop that?
It's, look, number one, you have got to demand honesty. You have got to challenge. The people have to stand up and do something. They have to challenge. On the school board, there's things that we can do. They sit there and tell, oh, we've got thousands of hordes of children that come to God in Texas because we're 30 minutes away from anything. And we're going to love our school, but we got to have 15 different $150 million high schools. Oh, wait a minute. The latest ADA report, average daily attendance, went down, not up. Hey! And my wife sometimes was saying, so what? What's going on? And that's how you have to do it. You have to inform people. I fully believe that every member on the school board should have their own face page, or whatever it's called. And yeah, once a week, put out a report. Here's what we talked about. We're not talking about top secret nuclear secrets at the school board. I have a top secret SDI clearance. But the school board doesn't meet that requirement. We need to inform the public and let the public tell us what to do. We are, by all purposes, citizens of God. We work for them. They voted for us. They didn't vote for us to go sit in the chicken house and start laying eggs. No. They voted for us. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You bring up Godly's debt. Godly is currently in debt $89,000 per enrolled student.
Yes.
The lowest in Johnson County is $10,000. That's
Yes.
cheating. They have the highest tax rate at $1.28, and they're last in Johnson County in algebra, biology, and U.S. history, and they're two up from the bottom in the other two intercourse subjects. They're the highest tax, highest in debt, and the worst performing. What would you commit to if elected to solve those problems?
Only a fool would stand up and say, I will do something when I don't know the real problem. But I will say this, I will commit myself to what I just told you. Standardization. Watch your budgets. Don't allow them to get away with what they're doing. That's the only way you can face this. He didn't mention the fact that the superintendent just got 11% pay raise. How much a pay raise did the teachers get? They're the ones, they're the producers. The superintendent is sitting in his little fancy office in a $150 million high school, I guess. Lord knows what he's doing. But a teacher walks into that classroom every single day. Where's that pay raise for the teacher? When they talk about the policy, they never talk about, hey, we need a pay raise for the teachers. No. So anyway, short answer.
Any other questions?
Real quick, why is $150 million to build a high school?
Because the people were quiet. The people were not told.
That's it. That's the only question I have. That's a joke.
No.
That's somebody's gouging somebody.
Well, of course it is.
Sheesh.
But see, they don't produce a report. They don't say, well, this month, of the $150 million, we spent $100. They had a report last night on construction. Well, we're going to put in some roofs here and some floors over here, and we got to put in a new door. And something called a kitchen. They use the term hospitality kitchen. That sounds like I'm just not out there. You know, okay. How much did that cost? Who knows? But you got to get that information out so that people can understand. You go and you're right. You can stand up and say, "Well, I was against that $800 million bond last year. I was a child killer. I wanted these children to study in the mud." You know, I went to junior high school, and a school built 40 years before I ever got there. There was those little work groups that went through in the 20s and 30s, and every one of them looked like the album. It had that little curve up the top. And I learned. So.
I just want to ask you, so as you look at this job as a school board trustee, the word trustee involved you being a liaison for the people, trusting you to represent them, or are you supposed to represent the school?
Oh, no. I am supposed to represent the people who voted me into office.
All right, we got any other questions? Go ahead. Oh, we got another one. All right.
I can talk loud.
All right, thank you. I'll go here.
Godly ISD over the last 2 years has had one reportable incident with TEA. However, their discipline is so bad that they actually had to remove bathroom doors in the high school for too much vaping and sex in the bathrooms. So obviously there's a problem. What would you do to make the community more aware that there is a problem, and how would you work on working through that problem, especially considering they just used their district of innovation plan to remove the state legislature teeth for THC vaping and vaping, which was the big day out.
One thing I think that we need to do in Godly ISD is separate the superintendent from being in charge of the Godly police, the ISD police. All right? Because there's too much of a chance for him, Mr. Deere, to cover and say, well, no, that child wasn't snapping around. He fell on the floor. It was, there's too much chance of that going on. And what do I or you or anybody else that's on the board, what do we know about policing? I don't like it when I speak, but that's about it. So yeah, there's and then it goes right back to informing the public of what's going on in the school district. And none of that is top secret stuff.
All right, any other questions? You want to share your name and the position you're running for?
Oh, Don Corey, position 2, Godly ISD.
Thank you. Someone raise your hand if you haven't spoken yet. I want to know who I got left. I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to recognize one more after that.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the invitation, for having me out to speak with you folks this evening. To all our veterans currently in the audience, thank you very much for your service. My name is Steve McAnally. I'm running for Burleson City Council, Place 1. I am a retired military police officer serving 22 years. Currently, I am a project manager for Los Alamos National Laboratory out in New Mexico. I spend 2 wonderful weeks out there every 2 months. The reason why I'm running for Burleson City Council is simple. Burleson is growing at a very, very fast rate, and our law enforcement needs to outpace our growth of our city. That's basically it in a nutshell. Questions?
Questions? Do we have any questions?
You know Silas Gilmore?
Sorry?
You know Silas Gilmore? I don't know Silas.
No, sir.
He's a lawyer.
I try to be all myself.
I got a question. I was going to say, he's going to get off easy. Ain't nobody asking nothing.
So how far behind is Burleson in the police department? How many policemen do they need?
That is going to be dependent on how fast the city is growing and at what rate. Currently, the police department is at full capacity, but that can change at the drop of a hat. They can make so much more money coming in other cities.
Yes, sir. City of Burleson gets its water from the city of Fort Worth. They have one pipeline in the city of Burleson. Very hypothetically, I mean, somewhere down the line it won't even happen, but, there's always a but. If for some reason the city of Fort Worth shuts the water off of Burleson, where's it going to get its water?
It's all about building those partnerships in our surrounding communities. Fort Worth's not the only location. Other cities have water as well. It's all about getting the best deal for our city and what we can mutually agree upon.
Where will that water come from? What surrounding communities, systems?
Mansfield, possibly, Joshua, Grandview, Cleveland, Crowley.
I wouldn't go to Cleveland.
And what incentives have you got for them to stay? And what kind of oversight do you have in regarding police officers?
Well, right now, their incentive to stay is that they love the city of Burleson. A lot of them have longevity, they do get longevity pay. However, their starting salary is not necessarily commensurate with larger cities. Granted, Burleson's not that large just yet, we're just shy of 56,000 folks, but we hope to grow that in the future. For example, most people don't know that body armor has a shelf life. When was the last time our police department got brand new body armor? Shelf life on body armor is 5 years. If they've been shot in the line of duty, it's no longer useful. Except for, of course, the ceramic sacking plate. But then again, that also depends on where that comes from.
The oversight, what kind of oversight do you have? What kind of,
She was asking what kind of oversight.
the oversight for police officers? I'll give you an example.
Yes, ma'am.
When Austin defunded their police department, they created 5 different committees, none of which a police officer was allowed to be on. None of which somebody who knew anything about police work was allowed to be on. They used ex-cons to oversight the police officers there, 5 different committees. What I want to know is something like that doesn't happen here in Burleson.
Well, it's good that hopefully in the elected city council. Hopefully I'll be that person that conducts the oversight for police law.
Okay, all right.
22 years of experience and still continuing to serve.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
One other having thought. If elected to the city council, my recommendation is to come up with a plan to develop your infrastructure on water and wastewater, because you're going to have water. Seriously.
Absolutely.
You know, so yes, have that plan and where we're going to get the additional water from if the current water supply is cut off. Water in, water out. If for some
recently, the Trinity River Authority says we cannot handle your sewer today, where are you gonna go with it? And that's gonna be a really bad problem.
Absolutely. It's a good thing my wife's a civil engineer, so she and I are already having those conversations.
Any other questions from the audience?
So whether it's school pay, firefighters, police, what we always hear is our salaries aren't as high as local places, and so our people can leave. So the only solution that's proposed, it seems, is, oh, we need to raise them higher than them, and then they say, we need to raise them higher than them, and then it just, So my question is, isn't it more appropriate to think about not necessarily benefits, monetary benefits, but things that would make the jobs competitive and desirable, not just in the income sense, but just, it seems like that would retain and attract more people than getting $1,000 more a year one place or another.
Absolutely. And an increased law enforcement capacity provides a better work-life balance, so the officers aren't working so many hours and they don't get burned out. In which case, they don't want to leave.
Any other questions?
So, we had two people here that were for auditing, 2 months ago or so, and they said, well, first of all, the governments, the different government entities within a given county have a certain amount of voting power to select auditors. And one of the city council members who quit was here. He said not one member on our city council voted to reduce taxes. And I keep on harping on this, but our taxes have doubled in 3 years. Why do we have to keep raising taxes? Because it's to the point where maybe start looking for some other place to live. Are you for raising taxes? Will you vote for auditors that want to?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I'm a resident of Burleson, and I do not want my taxes going up either.
Burleson.
I voted against raising taxes.
Well, somebody else told me they didn't. All right.
Yes, Bill. I'll come back to you. Little sidebar, whenever he said not one council member voted to lower taxes, you can go back and check the record. I was there and I did vote to pass what's called and let me explain it, a no new revenue.
How many voted for it then? Who went to tell?
I was alone.
All right, you're alone. Okay, that's the point. That's the point.
Yeah, Steve, Burris passed a bond, it didn't pass by much, but emergency safety bond. The money was allotted, a certain square footage of building size was provided that the police station would be getting. There was a little bit of interdiction in that. It was delayed, prices, construction materials, everything went up, which took away a little bit from the emergency services fund. We had a couple of council members that really stood up and fought to get the police everything they were promised. One council person told me they talked to enough officers that prefer doing paperwork in the vehicles. That pissed me off.
Officers do not like doing paperwork in the vehicle. How would you like it if you're in your vehicle for 12 hours a day and you're turned around like this?
That's right, it's happening. There's a lot of officers killed and in wrecks.
Exactly. Officers need a place to get out of their workplace, if you will. The police unit is their workplace. That's where they live for 12 hours a day, every day that they're on shift. They eat in the vehicle. Do you want them to do absolutely everything in the vehicle? Absolutely not. They need to get out, they need to stretch their legs, they need to move around. They need to be productive, they need to be safe.
Yeah, currently bunch of officers, their desks are in the hallways. That's pathetic.
I agree.
They should come first before anybody in City Hall gets to work their office. Before they get a paint gun on the wall, carpenter needs a chair.
I agree.
They're longer.
Currently, right now, Burleson Police Department, if they arrest a suspect, that individual down to Everett. We need to have a holding facility.
Right, yeah.
We need to have a Sally Port.
Yeah, because I don't know how many hours, but there's quite a few hours that they do have to transfer to jail. Paperwork, they have to do it there.
Absolutely.
Take a car and all sorts of other conditions.
And if that officer happens to arrest that suspect towards the end of their shift, they're now getting paid overtime. When they just work a solid 12-hour shift. That could be another 6 hours. That's 6 hours away from their family. That's 18 hours on shift. That's not safe. We need to do better.
Any questions from the board?
Would it make sense for them to just do their paperwork at schools where the police are needed? Get an office there, every school has an office, they swing in, they do their paperwork, our kids are safe. I don't understand why it's so hard to figure out for them.
They might have a little bit of issue with school resource officer, they don't like to up their territory.
Well, the school resource officers are usually the ones that are retired and don't want to do the active job that the other guys are doing, so nobody really cares what they think.
That is very true.
That's right.
That is
My
very
name is
true.
John Young. This is my first time here.
Do we have other questions? Go ahead and give us your name and the position you're running for.
Steve McIntyre, Burleson City Council, place one. Thank you for having me.
I'll take a minute to recognize our state representative, Dwayne Burns, has been here, has been able to hear your voices and hear some of these concerns, and regardless of which school district it is, they all seem to be the same. So I'll throw my 2 cents in. I hope that from what I heard today, I hope every one of y'all get in from what I've heard. That's just my 2 cents, because I don't necessarily live in your school districts. Dwayne, would you like to say something for us?
I'm just here to listen tonight, but thanks for all the folks that have thrown their hats in the ring to do these jobs. It takes courage and conviction to do it, so appreciate all of you that are serving and are willing to serve and take up on to go do that. So that's it.
And I just want to again reiterate, thank you for coming. It's not often we get a state rep, state conference, say anything down here to hear you. So it's not that I'm trying to campaign for them. I'm just saying I'm thankful that somebody from Austin is in our room listening to our concerns. So thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next month, we haven't set a date yet for a time, but we are going to have State Representative Burns and Helen Kerwin here for the town hall. So y'all be looking out for that email. We'll go out in a couple of weeks. So that's going to be our next week. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate
One thing I would like to say is that every election is won by a very small percentage. Typically, only 10% of the voters can decide who represents the whole mass.
I'm John Young.